Welcome to episode 439 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking.
From indie film to studio films to high-end TV to documentaries and
Oscar-nominated short and feature films in between.
how to get them made, how to make them, and how to...
royally F them up.
Royally F them up?
Yeah.
Try not to.
No, just how to F them up, yeah. How to try not to royally F them up.
There you go. In our very, very humble opinion, I'm Giles Alderson.
I'm Dom Lenoir.
And today on the show, we have three very special guests. The first being Zoë Saldaña, the excellent actress. The second being Marco Perego, the director and writer. And the third being the editor, Juliette Welfling, who has been Oscar nominated for Emilia Pérez.
And is the regular collaborator of Jacques Audiard.
And Dom got to sit down with all three of them and chat about their filmmaking expertise. And obviously we made this a Zoë Saldaña special because she stars in both of these films. So I think we should start with Zoë Saldaña and Marco Perego with their short film, which was Oscar shortlisted, called Dovecote. Dom, what do you talk about with Zoë and Marco?
We talk about the route of getting this made from film festival labs to film festivals and how that led to Oscar shortlisting. We also talked about creating a very visual storytelling style, which is quite an original sort of narrative structure and visual sort of storytelling for this. And we also talked about working with the inmates and the penitentiary itself and showing a different light of Venice that we haven't really seen very much before.
They also talk about how you can find a film in rehearsal as well, which I think is really important, especially making a short film. It can be really difficult to have your beginning, middle and end. That's really important. So just to run through Marco Perego's and Zoë Saldaña's credits, let's start with Marco Perego. He has made various short films. He's executed and produced films. But I think what he's known most for is he directed and wrote and produced The Absence of Eden, which starred Zoë Saldaña, Adria Arjona, Garrett Hedlund and Tom Waits, which came out last year. Zoë Saldaña, on the other hand, you will definitely know who she is if you've seen Avatar, and I think pretty much all the world has seen Avatar. She started off her early roles as an actress in Centre Stage and Crossroads, and she's captivated audiences, I'd say, with her pretty much incredible talent. I think she's been incredible in everything I've seen. She's become a bit of a global icon through roles in like the franchises like Avatar, but Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Trek. And she's also been brilliant in her ability to seamlessly transition between the genres, bringing these complex characters to life, especially in this short film, Dovecote.
A multi-genre wonder, you might say.
Yes, I'd say so too. Do you want to discuss a little bit about what Dovecote is about? Because it's visually stunning.
Yes, so it's set in a female penitentiary in Venice, and it kind of looks at the cycle of entering and exiting and the community there. It's very metaphorical, it's very mood and atmospheric driven, and it's a really interesting sort of take on, as I said earlier, on the sort of short film idea of what that is. It sort of has its own placeholder in that world. It's a very sort of almost spiritual feeling film in its kind of intent, which is good because Marco, I think, also looks a little bit like Jesus, which is pretty cool. If
you look on his IMDb picture, yes. Yeah, we're going to come back to you after Zoë Saldaña and Marco Perego chat. So we can chat with editor of Emilia Pérez, Juliette Welfling, and then at the end of that, we're going to come back and we're going to have our film topic of the week, which is, should you make a short film after you have made a feature? Is this a good calling card or not? And also, we're going to do our film term of the week. It's back, because me and Dom are back doing the podcast together. Absolutely are.
Holding hands, smiles on faces.
Exactly. Thank you all so much for those who listen to our The Brutalist specials.
Popular episode that was.
Yeah, very, very popular. A lot of love. Thank you for all those who messaged and commented in. We love you for doing so. Please do so if you haven't yet. And if you haven't commented on IMDb or on the podcast of your choice and at least subscribe, do us a favour of doing that, then please do. We love your love, as it were. But yes, you can listen to Brady Corbett and to production designer Judy Becker, as well as actor Guy Pearce, all talking about The Brutalist on 2 episodes last week. Right, let's get to Zoë Saldaña and Marco Perego. The other side of that, me and Dom will introduce Juliette Welfling, and then we'll see the other side of that as well. How exciting! You ready?
Flying to the Dovecote episode.
Let's do it. Here it's the inspiring conversation with Zoë Saldaña and Marco Prego and the incredible Dom Lenoir. See you on the other side.
Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast, Marco. Thanks for joining us. Zoe is joining us in a second, I think you mentioned. Congratulations on Dovecote. I mean, it's a really unique, incredibly original short film. And I think it really sort of speaks something new to the genre of short filmmaking. And I love sort of seeing this kind of film. How are you feeling about everything?
Wow, Donna, first time, thank you so much, Kay. You like the film. I was not expected. I was really like, I believe it, but it was very, very a surprise for me and very, very celebrating. Yeah, the film, like you say, is a very different type of film. It's very, you have some very choice between myself and the writer also. We make it in a normal short film you don't see, and we're very, very happy and grateful.
So I mean, what was the approach in terms of how to structure it? Because I mean, short films traditionally have a sort of, there's a certain way that things often pan out, and there's a sort of twist at the end. You did something really unique here, and I'd love to know how the sort of the plotting process was.
Yeah, from the writing perspective, I'm very grateful. I work with somebody like Alex Dinaliris, who was an amazing writer and Oscar winning for Birdman. He's a mentor and a friend of mine, and the structure he created, I think, is very interesting. And in the like you say, in the classic way to writing a film or a short film, in the second act there is a way, this idea of where your character everything is lost. And Alex's idea, he actually does something very unique and new, where he's capable to send out Zoe, like a protagonist, outside of the prison, and is coming another person, another woman, young guy, can look like Zoe in a way, in an imaginative way. And what she does is almost like be inspected. And that second part is when everything is lost. It's that moment when the idea of passing this bag of everything is lost is a very important and new structure of a character. And I think that will show you the cycle of how all these women and how this movie can be on forever. And from a directorial perspective, what I think I approached was the question when we went to interview all these women was what really freedom is. And the idea was, if you watch in the short, the idea was you looking at the first 2 minutes of the film, they shot in a magic hour, and the frame of the directing is 4:3, and the camera keep cutting. And inside there is a very long take of over like 15 minutes, and is all shot in 2:39. And this idea of our community and be belong, because the majority of these women, when we interview them, they ask freedom for them sometimes is much better inside than outside. Because the real freedom when people really see you and they really notice you. And this idea to using the camera to have completely one take inside is that sense of to have together. And also to the frame of 2:39 with his majority large frame, he give you the aspect of a really sense of freedom and sense of to big landscape and big freedom. The idea is freedom is more inside than outside, because somebody in the community see you. That's where you really come freedom.
I think it was a really interesting way that you use that freedom and the sort of the community and how many women you showed. There's a lovely moment where all of the women sort of come together and they look towards the camera, which is obviously like a very emblematic sort of moment. How did you think about how the introduction with the guard kind of links? I mean, it's a really interesting way into the whole prison situation. It's someone, I guess, coming from their own outside world, and then you're sort of following them into this enclosed kind of society. It's a really interesting sort of choice how you sort of shot that as well. I mean, how did that sort of come about?
I don't know. I really like the idea too. First, I really like to work with Marcello Fonte. He's an amazing actor. He was also a great best actor in Cannes for this movie I really like called Dogman. And the idea also is going down. There is a moment where he's going down, and there is the magic hour, and you arrive, and you go inside this wall of the prison, and you almost like go inside this life of these women, like you say, when they're all in the corridor, they represent all the women in the prison around the world. They represent that. The goal for me and Alex and Zoe, it was to touch the vulnerability of all these women. Zoe, just arrived.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Yes, yeah. Just really moved by the film earlier. It certainly makes you feel, and it opens up such big themes. Yeah. How are you doing anyway? Have you been doing the sort of the showing of the movie, the touring, all that kind of stuff?
Yes, the screenings and the Q&As. Me, honestly, after the process of shooting a film, it's more hard, especially when you feel very passionate about the project that you're talking about. It's just you always find conversations that never get old, and new discoveries about a project that you feel so passionate about.
Definitely. So I mean, just going back a little bit, what was the inception of both of you actually sort of choosing to do this? I mean, I think shorts now they've really come into their own as something prestigious, and I think it's great that actors and directors are kind of looking at it as a new medium of storytelling. But what was it that sort of both sparked your interest in doing this?
Well, it all started with Marco. The moment Marco was invited to join the Vatican Pavilion at the Biennale this year, he felt really inspired to write this short film, and asked me immediately that if he wrote it, if I would be a part of it. And I truly respect my husband's work, and I like his creative process of putting stories together, and how he was putting this short together felt very much aligned with what I'm used to seeing of his, but also what I like, for myself as well as an artist and also as an art lover. It was a dream come true that I never thought I had, to be a part of the Venice Biennale. And we got to do it together, and we got to do it in a way that is very authentic to Venice, shedding light on a part of Venice that nobody really knows about in the Giudecca, and telling stories about women, which was quite remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, when you think of the Biennale, you sort of think of the glamour, the red carpets, people on gondolas going through. It's not a side that I was ever aware of, and I think it's so exciting when in filmmaking you can shine a light in something that people have such clear perceptions of that's different, and I think this does such a great sort of job of that. I mean, once Marco was invited into the sort of the program, what was the process in finding this story specifically before that research process sort of took place?
I flew to New York, and I meet with my mentor and partner Alex Dinaliris, and we start to talk about this. And he noticed this idea that when you walk in through New York, you see pigeon they're waiting in the street. I don't know if you know about pigeon in the way they die. They just sit down there and they blow themselves up and they let themselves to die. And that's what inspired us to him and to myself to writing the story. And after that, I flew to Venice. I started to interview everybody, and we come out with this idea, like you say, to discuss about this idea of freedom and what it means. And it's about this, keep resilient of all these women that they create in a community. If you think about in this hotel, you're going to sleep in this very fancy hotel and stuff, and this prison, the women, they actually clean up all the shit for the bed where you're sleeping in. You understand? There is a very interesting aspect of life. And for Zoe and Alex, what was very important was talk about the human aspect or the vulnerability aspect of all these women, like you say, the feeling, they unify us,
So how did you sort of, I mean, I think one of the really interesting things about it is that there isn't, it's sort of fairly dialogue free. And from a performance standpoint, that's obviously really exciting. How did you sort of work together in forming, your character Zoe, and also just how your character interacts with all the other women, and those very important moments that are kind of symbolic to filling in the blanks, I guess, of her history in this place and their history in this institution.
Marco was given, was it 3 or 4 days of pre-production? It was 5 days of pre-production. So I was able to attend 3 out of those 5 days of pre-production before we started shooting. And my entire time was spent with the inmates and just sort of getting to see them in their space and making them feel comfortable, trying to answer as many questions and inquiries that they had, and gaining their trust. I have to say, I know that it may sound like, I hope it doesn't sound superficial, but gaining their trust was important for Marco and I, because if we were telling a story about them and we wanted them to be active participants in the telling of their stories, we wanted them to feel really safe and comfortable. And once we felt like we were there, then the shooting process became quite enjoyable for all of us, the ladies included. That's not to say that it's a great place to be in. A detention facility is anything but a happy place. It's reality at its finest, at its most acute. And so there were moments, and there were inmates that were not so happy, and they were not participating in the process, and we were exposed to that. But then we were really guarded by all the professionals that work at the facility, and we were given sort of assigned areas to be in. And the women that chose to be a part of the film were always around us, and so we learned a lot. It was a very enlightening experience, I have to say, about how different countries sort of operate in terms of correctional facilities and the types of rehabilitations that are offered in certain places, and how that may help or affect in some way just how these inmates, either live their sentences or live post serving their sentences. It was just very, very interesting to learn all of that.
Yeah, and just sort of coming back to what Marco was saying about freedom earlier, I think it must have been very important to include them in the process, because it's not something they necessarily have control over what they're doing in their general sort of day-to-day life.
I think the more important rewards for us when we showed the film to the inmate, we went back to the facility, and they hug us and they BC, and for Zoe and I, that was the more important things. These women, they BC. It was very authentic and honest.
And bringing out the goodness, I suppose, in and the humanity in these people. They're real people, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. I think that. Yeah.
There was a lot of humanity, and that was the biggest takeaway for us, that certain environments and certain individuals, I guess our psychosocial communities have encouraged us to look at them from a different lens, that it's a much more simple lens of like, is this right or wrong? Is this person good or bad? And I feel like life is much more complex, and we all live in the gray. So discovering and rediscovering the humanity in spaces that may feel, inhumane, like it was really, really rewarding for us.
Yeah, and also I think there's almost a spiritual edge that with the music and the way that it's shot, that there is something that really elevates it above just being a sort of a place where people go to get punished. There is, I think that takes it into that sort of element of human complexity, which I thought was really haunting.
Yeah, and you can see from the beginning, when, like you say, when another inmate, you can feel in what maybe Zoe character did when she came in, and this idea of of community, what it does to a person, I think that's all the key. So
I mean, traditionally you might, if you're lucky, get a bit of rehearsal time, but I suppose with a lack of dialogue, what was that? I mean, was it mostly just the sort of the research side?
No, we did it because we put the camera in, and there is 81 women inside this prison. Yeah. 23 they're Italian, all the rest of the women they're from east of Europe, North Africa. And the idea, when we put the camera, everybody speaking different language, different dialect. Alex look at me and say, we need to be honest with these women. Cannot be dialogue, we need to be honest. It's about feeling. And that's what we create in this piece. I create this piece, and Zoe really understand that from a very, very like, how talented, amazing Zoe is, and was very honest and raw. And the whole idea here is just about, like you say, portrait. Is a portrait of these women, this essence.
Well, as a former dancer, I really learned to tell stories first by using my body before I started using my voice. And I feel like Marco's instinct on not writing this piece and having the dialogue drive the story, but the environment, the location drive the story was, I believe, the secret sauce that made all this work, because it is already a very real environment. It is very intense. What we were seeing, the images and the sets brought out a kind of rawness that already speaks for itself, a reality that speaks for itself. And no matter how much he attempted to write words into these moments that he was sort of like creating, they felt like they were too much. They were just going to actually do the story a disservice. And I feel like that to me was the most special about the story, is that there are no words, but you are able to find words as you're watching it,
Yeah, and I think emotional intelligence and also just, the gift of being able to be immersed into something that has so much to offer in terms of like what you can interpret and what you can feel. It is such a gift, I suppose, as a director or as an actor, to be able to sort of have that at your disposal.
It's so true. It's sometimes when you're able to do it, it's such a challenge also that you take on, because we rely so much on words, and sometimes too much. And then you feel like there is a disconnection between the environment that you're working so hard to create and the words that the characters are saying. Yeah. And then you also can have that same effect where there aren't enough words, but the environment isn't really helping the story. And in this case, we were really fortunate that this facility drove the narrative very well.
There was an hearing and a hunting character by the building, by the place, very hearing and hunting in a way,
Was there anything that changed maybe from the performance and actually from the sort of the shooting in terms of what you'd planned from a sort of like a script stage, I guess?
No, because I'll be very honest, because I went there just for 5 days, and I went 2 times to Venice to look in everything and make all the picture, and Alex and I, we came out with this entire idea and story. We tried, the idea of shooting was only 5 days, and we was moving very, very quickly on this, but the place really helped us.
And just talking about the sort of the atmosphere and the mood, and how you approach that, because it does have a very sort of specific sort of vision to it, and it'd just be nice to hear how you sort of put that together and ended up with the final sort of film as it is.
I walk into the facility and I start to hear voice, and I hear asking to the director that was very great. I say, what is that? And they say, there is 10 women they share in the room together. When we walk in the first scene, that's why the first scene opening with Zoe and with all these women in the bed, some of them they sleep. It was exactly the experience we had. And I think it was very, very fascinating. And the idea was about try to be very honest about when you're watching a film like that. You have very short, like you say, coming in your own form, because you have this very small time to explain something very profound and deep, and that's what I will try to catch, I really try to catch this.
And is there anything you think that you might take forward from having shot this in terms of maybe use of dialogue, shooting on location, anything like that?
Yeah, I actually... you talk about in the future, if I'm doing a project, something similar like this, or?
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, we prep a new movie now, okay, Alex and I, we writing together. It will be shot in the same feeling of Dovecote, but will be a completely different personal story. We're shooting in Italy in the next year, and we're very excited. And the idea, I really, like you say, try to develop this film where it's more like quiet, and there is just letter space for the audience to be part of this journey with these women. That's what I think also the performance Zoe really did. Give you that space to you be one of these women, be looking like and be part of this community,
Yeah, definitely.
Because all the majority of these women is the inmate, outside 3 actors, and Marcello Fon.
Yeah. Was there any challenges that you especially found in the shooting other than the environment itself?
Yeah, of course. We was inside a facility. The facility was working. There was one time they throwing the water to us. One time there was a
Really?
couple
Wow.
on the second floor. There was a kind of like a fight. But in general, everybody, it was a really deep experience. Also working with somebody like Stefania Cella, which is an amazing production designer. The scene of the nun, because every time all these women in the facility, they don't have any clothes. The nun coming and helping, bringing clothes. When we was trying to really create something to explain this sense of belong. Because I think sometimes what really, to answer the question, is what freedom is really is part of something. It's part to belong somewhere and people see you.
I mean, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you
for this chat.
We're very grateful that you like this film.
No, it's it's really nice and it's lovely to be able to watch something that feels so original, because we do see the same kind of stories portrayed sometimes, and anything that can shine a light on something like this is absolutely fantastic.
Grazie. Thank you so much, and thank you for your question to me and Zoe. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful holiday to you and your family.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bello. Bacio.
And
Ciao.
also, congratulations on Emilia Pérez as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a lovely night. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
There we go. That was Marco Perego, Zoë Saldaña, Marco Perego, talking about their short film, Dovecote. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I even sent them an email because I thought what a lovely pair of people they were. It was such a nice chat. Good sort of family values and just no egos and like very welcoming and warm and keen to sort of just connect on a human level about filmmaking and why they want to do it. So I've got only nice things to say about them.
Obviously, she's Zoë Saldaña is now Oscar nominated for Emilia Pérez, which brings us on perfectly to our third guest this week and our second interview. It is with editor Juliette Welfling. She is the editor of Emilia Pérez, as just mentioned, which is directed by Jacques Audiard and is pretty impressive movie. Now, what do you talk about with Juliette, Dom?
What don't we talk about? Well, we talk about the scale of her career and that sort of genesis with working with Jacques, and also just sort of going into a little bit of deciphering her process, because she's definitely someone that's really like honed in on just an intuitive way of working and what that looks like, and how to sort of find that narrative and the right flow and that collaboration so that it really kicks.
Juliette Welfling's career, it spans decades. She's also worked with Jacques Audiard on films like Read My Lips, A Prophet, and Rust and Bone. I mean, they're all fantastic. If you've not seen A Prophet, literally get yourself watching that now. She's just pretty much unparalleled with her ability to shape narratives. She evokes emotions through the power of her editing, and her work has garnered numerous awards, including a César Award for Best Editing for Rust and Bone, multiple nominations, including 2 Oscar nominations for The Diving Bell and The Butterfly, and most recently, she has been nominated for the groundbreaking musical, which is Emilia Pérez, which we're here to talk about today, because it's been lauded for its, I'd say, innovative storytelling, bold visual style, and it's got Juliette's editing playing a crucial role in bringing this unique vision to life. So, sharpen your editing tools right now and join us as Dom Lenoir sits down with the editor of Emilia Pérez, Juliette Welfling.
There's your microphone.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the UK.
Thank you.
How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Are you? You must be excited by the reception of the film.
Yeah, of course, because I love this film, and but wasn't expecting that this would happen, because this film is a bit. It's a weird film in a way. So I don't think none of us were expecting this, but it happened, and it's wonderful.
It's definitely genre breaking. And I think it does it very successfully. I think what makes it interesting is that it kind of, the music doesn't stop. It doesn't stop the flow of the drama. And I have seen musicals that it really feels like, okay, we've stopped the story. Now we're starting the music, and now we're stopping the story. What was your initial sort of entrance to the project? How did you first hear about it from Jacques?
Oh, well, I've cut all his movies, so well, he started writing it in 2019.
Okay, yeah.
So it's been a long process,
Wow.
So he thought at first to make an opera out of it. Then he met the musicians Camille and Clément, and after speaking a lot with them, they finally come to the idea to make a film with it. Well, he wasn't sure. Is it a film? Is it an opera? Is it what is it?
And it sort of ended up in its own kind of category. It wasn't an opera. It wasn't a film. It was somewhere in the middle. I mean, did you get a chance to see the script?
Yeah.
And I mean, how was that? Because I mean, it must have been an unusual, looking script in terms of.
He first made a libretto. I think you would say like something like that was around 30 pages. This I never read it, and that's when they decided no, it's going to be a film. And then he made I don't know all the history, but what I read first was a kind of a regular script with no songs. Although he always knew there would be songs, but in the first version I read, it was just a script with like a story, like any, and then the songs. Little by little came, and also it was very different because the lawyer's character, Rita's character, was a man, and then it became a woman, and it was very it was a long, as I say, it was a long process.
So being a regular collaborator, because I mean, there's obviously the sort of the trope that you make the film in the writing and then the shooting and the editing. I mean, do you have a kind of relationship where you like to come on to things with just a small idea of what's going to happen, or do you like to give feedback at the script stage, knowing what you're going to be collaborating with down the line?
I do get feedback, but no. Well, I totally trust Jacques. So I think, and when I read the first version in 2019, I was already, it was amazing. So it could only get better, although sometimes it gets worse. But no, I followed the script. I followed the different steps, etc. But I didn't really, get into it. Before.
Okay, yeah. So then for the shooting, do you collaborate where you come on to set? You see any rushes quite early, or do you wait until it's all kind of shot?
No. I started day first.
Oh, the first day. Okay,
I started cutting day first.
Very much on board with the team and.
Yeah. But I started cutting day first, or maybe second day, and watch obviously the dailies, the rushes every day, especially because Jacques Audiard doesn't watch his dailies. So
he doesn't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he wants a feedback. Yeah, I do. So he wants a feedback every day, of course. And besides, when you're cutting, you have to watch the dailies anyway. So
yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, there is a very distinctive visual language in this film, especially. I mean, I suppose across all his films, but this one, there's obviously the pacing is quite deliberate, but then there's a lot of very specific shots. I mean, do you when you're sort of getting does he write notes? Is it kind of up to your interpretation? Because sometimes a shot can look really nice and it can be well planned out, but it doesn't fit with the brief of the film.
No, he doesn't write notes.
He doesn't write notes.
Well, while I think while he's shooting, he doesn't have time
for anything else.
It's already a lot. So obviously, yes, we speak about the dailies when there are problems. Otherwise, I just say it's perfect, it's good, so good, and he doesn't really have time for all this. And when he's worried or what, I will send him a cut, but he doesn't, and then we can discuss. But no, he doesn't. I think I trust him, but he also trusts me. And also there is a thing which is a bit maybe special with him, is like he wants to be surprised with what he's gonna see. He doesn't expect, like many directors want to see exactly what they have written.
Yes.
He doesn't expect this. He doesn't care. And if it's not what he has written, he likes it even better, because otherwise he said, I'm going to be bored. I wrote it, I shot it. Now I want to be, I have to have some surprises. So yeah, and then also there's no risk, because after the first cut, he comes to the cutting room, we discuss, we can change everything. So he'd rather have a surprise and then starts thinking about the cut from this surprise, and then we go.
Which must be also, I think, I guess over the years you've I learned a little bit about what he enjoys, what he doesn't enjoy. Maybe
I guess it's not conscious.
No, of course. But
I guess
seeping in over the years.
Yes, because I've known him for lots of years, and I think we probably like the same things, because when I watch the rushes, they really speak to me. I don't know if you say it like this, but that works, they really. I feel really connected to what he shots generally. Well, sometimes no. Sometimes I'm like, why did he shoot that? What does it mean?
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this? And I'm like, am I going to ask him, or do I have to find by myself? So I try to find by myself. If really I don't, I will ask you, what is this for? But otherwise, no, I feel connected. I like. For me, it's great also, because I feel totally free. So it's fantastic.
So what were the first kind of decisions and thoughts, I guess, as you were cutting? Because I suppose for me the tricky bit as a filmmaker in the back of my mind is blending the music and the drama and when to start, how to get into those sequences seamlessly. That was one of the sort of first things that sprung to mind, and I suppose the other thing is the long sort of tracking shots and where to indulge those and where to sort of cut out of them quicker. So what was your kind of first impressions as you were starting to cut things, of how they were shot versus how you were sort of thinking to edit?
I don't think it's why it's very difficult for me to talk about my job, because I have the feeling I'm not thinking, I just do it, and it's like I'm not saying it's instinctively.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't really know. I'm sure I'm not consciously thinking about I'm going to do this. No, I the only thing I know is that I always look for the first shot of the scene. This is to me the important shot, the first shot. How am I going to start this scene? And then it all goes. Once you have the first shot, I think it's the whole scene. To me, but I don't. I don't know. I don't have ideas before. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do that. No, I go like. I wouldn't say by chance, but yeah, it's kind of hazardous. You say that?
Yeah. Have you noticed much of a language over the different films of whether he likes to start with master shots, whether he's into coverage, where he's. Obviously there's a lot of Steadicam in this one as well.
Well, in this one the Steadicam was so amazing that we used it a lot, because the guy who was the Steadicammer was amazing. No, I don't. Well, no, starting with establishing is not really...
It's not really his style, no.
No, but sometimes we do, even in this movie, because the establishing are like often drone shots, and they are also... The difference here, and this was maybe a bit of a drag, is that it's shot in a studio. So there are no establishing shots like wide shots. So at some point it was maybe a bit stuffy, like because claustrophobic, and he was afraid of this. It's going to be very claustrophobic. We never see wide shots. We are never outside, because of course it's in a studio. So we had these drone shots that we used to breathe, because otherwise, it was a bit. There are only like maybe two scenes in a street, and the rest are mostly inside. So
what? It's really interesting, because that's not something that consciously went through my mind, that this isn't. I didn't even realize it was set in a studio. That wasn't sort of part of the what I was taking in. But I suppose it's because the shots that you have done outside where it does breathe are so convincing and so expansive that it almost just sort of sells the whole thing, like very, very effectively, like the street especially, and some of the sort of desert.
The desert is not in a studio. No,
exactly.
It was
it sells the overall vision.
I wasn't so worried about this, but it was one of his concerns. I remember, and that was. Claustrophobia.
Yeah.
But and now when people watch the movie, they don't often they don't even notice it's not a real. I mean, it's in a studio.
Yeah.
They think it's shot in Mexico, but it's shot in Paris.
Is it?
in a studio.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I mean, what were some of the things that as you were getting maybe through the shoot, were there any bits that maybe you were thinking, okay, we need to get some pickup shots, or this that we've shot, I'm not sure if this quite works. Like, what were some of the issues or bits that you needed to figure out along the way of the main things?
Well, it's the same. It's always in when during shooting they don't have time to do something, or so there are always shots missing. So the first song in the which is in the street, Allegato, the first song of the movie. This one was the first day of shooting.
Oh, that's a big one.
And it's really the most difficult, maybe. So, because Jacques figured, and I think he already did this on previous movies, he says, let's start with the worst, so then, everything will be
easier. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they did. And it was a bit of a mess, and it was my first day as well. So, here I started asking for some shots, close up, whatever. I think they never did them, and the scene is okay.
Yeah, I mean, you managed to make it work.
I don't even remember what I asked for, but I was like, because I had the feeling some shots were missing, but they didn't have time to do them, or didn't have money, or didn't have I don't know what. But otherwise, no, I don't. Some scenes have been reshot, or so that was after discussing, but it has been reshot after, because
is that for story reasons, or
for story reasons. One scene was a song, and it has been reshot the day after, but as a regular scene, because it was a drama scene, and as a song it was a bit ironic, and Jacques didn't want it to be ironic. It was in the non-profit. So when she decides to create this, it was originally, and she says there's how many dead are in every year in Mexico. It's a very dramatic scene, and she's very moved, and they were like singing and very excited, like they're gonna do something, and this really didn't work. So they reshot that, and they reshot the beginning of the movie, which was different. But lucky enough, they didn't have to. They reshot it a few months later, so it was.
So what was the beginning? I mean, that's really interesting. Like, what's different?
The beginning, it started with a woman falling from a building.
Okay.
And this woman was the wife of the guy Rita was defending on the trial we see at the beginning.
Okay.
But she wasn't coming back. She was just, this story is just to show that Rita is a lawyer, and that she's employed by a guy who treats her like a slave, etc. And you could see that the guy had pushed his wife through the window, and she was falling from the building. And then the song would start, which was great. But people were like,
what does this have to do with the rest of the film?
And they were like, we don't know. And they didn't really understand the trial. They didn't really understand Rita was a lawyer. It was very, very complicated. So at first it was, and it was a very difficult shot to do, because it was a full 3D shot to do, and very expensive. So but that was not the reason. But
that's very useful, because, like, I mean, as you said, like, those kind of things, they're great, unique openers, but they have to connect to something later in the story.
No, they didn't.
To have some significance.
And here it didn't. Yeah. So and some people, and I loved it too, because it was so surprising to see, like, and also Jacques at the end felt it was a bit disgusting, starting with someone smashing on the floor.
Oh, I see.
She wouldn't. after a while, he didn't want to start like this anymore. And people were saying, we don't understand anything. What's this? So we decided that we would do Rita in her apartment. Her boss calls her. You understand that she's like a slave. He treats her like shit. And and it's better because... it's better, hopefully. But when you see her in the streets starting to sing, you already know something about her, because otherwise she was appearing in the street starting to sing, you didn't get it.
Yes.
So
that also makes sense. Yeah.
So that's why we did that. And I think but this was reshot a few months later because they went to Mexico to shoot the end of the movie. And so
I mean that's a really good point as well, because I mean whether you're jumping into song or whether you're kind of expecting the audience to go alongside a character, when you haven't put in the groundwork, I feel like that's one of the most, I think a lot of big movies, they cut out the pieces that you need to build trust with the audience in a character for them to care or be willing to go on a journey that maybe is plausible or implausible. And if you don't have those pieces in place, that can be a big.
But on another hand, it's tempting. You say that
tempting,
because because it's like it was very cinematographically.
Yeah.
If you don't do presenting your character, etc., you go straight into the story. You're like, oh wow, I'm clever. But and it's honestly. I like to get into a movie abruptly, when as a viewer. But you're right. Sometimes you're like, who is she? Who is he? What is he doing? And it takes so many minutes to understand what people are doing. It's better. We decided that we would do the wise introduction.
Yes.
Except the beginning, which is the mariachi shot, which is not very wise, at the beginning.
Yes.
So it gives a compensation.
So as you were sort of getting to the end of, I mean, do you like to do a one full assembly, or is he sort of watching scenes along the way?
No. Yeah, sometimes he's watching scenes when he's worried.
But generally, you'd finish.
But otherwise, he watch an assembly.
Okay. So where other than the intro, which we've discussed, what was the kind of the shape of the film? After that first assembly, was it largely as it sort of ended up?
Well, to me, it was not that far, but he says it's very different, but he should see the first cut again.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, I don't think it was very, very far. Yes, we changed lots of things and we worked for almost a year, but you could see that the movie was already there, already in the first cut, you could see how would the movie end up, and it was to me it was okay. We were already it was reassuring to me, and no, it didn't. And also because Jacques doesn't want to see a too long assembly, he doesn't want it to be like 3 hours, 3 hours and a half. He says no way I'm gonna sit there and watch something like this. I don't want it to be more like 2 hours 15, 2 hours and a half, because the film at the end is 2 hours or something.
It feels quite lean, actually. I mean, I did watch it in two sittings because I was having to watch it late at night, but it was it didn't feel long at all. Like at any point,
2 hours something, and then the very very long credits that nobody watches. So that's. You can take them. So it's 2 hours, 3 or 4 minutes. I don't remember. It's not very long because nowadays films are very long.
No, it's true.
So, but then I think the assembly was maybe 2 hours 15 or 2 hours 30. I don't remember.
So it's mostly just trimming off the fat, I guess.
No, because there are lots of things that we changed. The scenes, obviously, who were changed. The construction, they changed. They were planned to be there, and they were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
so you did do a little. So you did a bit of movement of actual scene orders as well.
Yeah, exactly, scene orders. But that I had already done in the first assembly.
Yeah,
and then we did it more, and we tried some scenes kept changing place. 2 or 3 scenes kept changing place.
Do you remember which ones they were?
Yeah, there's the one where Emilia with her kid. The baby, the song called Papa.
Mm-hmm.
This one kept changing. There is the fundraising, the one where Rita has her red suits, and the song is called El Mal. This one also kept. It was planned to be much later, but then we figured no, it didn't. Well, whatever. So it changed a lot.
I mean, is it a case of finding those ups and downs and putting in the more uplifting bits to break up the drama? Is that mostly the sort of thinking that because it's always up and down, up and down, up and down?
Yeah, it's totally it's the reason. Yeah, and also for Emilia's character, the fact that the scene with her kid was before or after, it changed a lot her decision to start this new work of finding dead bodies, etc.
Yeah.
Because it changed her motivation. Was it because of her kid, or was it I don't know.
Which are big considerations. I mean, sometimes one motivation over another can have a massive effect on whether an audience is on board with the idea or not. So that's really interesting.
Totally.
It always seems clear in the writing stage, but when you're in the edit, there's these little connections make so much more sense.
Which is, people say that the editing is the third writing of a movie, but I guess it's true.
It really is. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So and with Jacques, he doesn't care. We can do whatever we want. There's no limit. We can try everything, even if it's totally insane. We will try it, and I mean, it's faster to try it than to discuss about it. So why not trying it? So we do.
Do you have any advice to sort of finish off with, maybe for someone trying to break into the industry or trying to get into editing and maybe get offered a first big feature or something along those lines?
Advice? Well, don't be shy. If you are cutting your first cut, edit your first movie or your first even short, do anything that goes through your mind. Please don't be shy. Don't feel, because you will succeed.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why you're such a good collaborator with Jacques, because his films are bold and they're edited bold, and I think that works very well.
I think we work together very, very well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
the
very
rest
much.
of your stay in England.
Thank you.
Well, there we go.
Oh, what an episode!
Yeah, it was great chat, and it was nice to go to Netflix. They were like, do you want to do this online or come to Netflix? And I was like, oh, come on, just let's go to Netflix.
You went to Netflix HQ?
Yeah, I went to Netflix HQ. I was like, come on, let's make this a proper episode. It's always nicer to have that filmmakers podcast on the HD TV in the background.
Yes,
and sit there with
nice,
drinking those Netflix teas. And
did you get a free mug this time? Did you get a free?
No, I didn't get another. I didn't get a mug, but I did have a nice cup of tea there, if I remember correctly. I definitely had a good cup of tea.
Hey, it was worth the trip then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
worth the trip.
Yeah, always worth the trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Emilia Pérez is out now. Go watch it. By the way, now the bit you've all been waiting for, which is our discussing our film topic of the week. So our question of the week is: should you make a short film after you have made a feature film? It's a good question. It's really important. I think it's topical. I think it's interesting because we all, it's really hard to keep making films. Short films are sometimes easier. You can just go off and get those made, and less commitment from people, if you like. Could do it on a weekend. Phil Hawkins has worked brilliantly, I'd say, making his Star Wars Origins short film.
I think there's a caveat with it, and I think Phil's is a good example. Is your short film more ambitious, more exciting, more original, more high production value than, or at least at the level of the films that you've been doing in the feature camp? I think personally, like my thought is, if you're going to make a short, it has to be even better than a feature film. Or it has to have a higher level of cast or a mind-blowingly interesting sort of narrative, because otherwise to me it feels like you are going backwards. But I feel like the sentiment is now that it can be quite a prestigious thing to do a short film if you have something really good going for it, and then you can sort of step into this camp of something, you can sort of go a little bit more art house, or you can do something more original, but it can't just be mediocre. That's my take on it.
I love that. I totally agree. I think if you're going to do it, you've got to really step it up. I think if you're making a short film anyway, it has to be really good. But you can kind of, if it's your first one, second one, third one, you haven't made a feature, it's as long as the story's great, as long as it's really nice, yeah, you're going to get noticed. People are going to pay attention to it and go, okay, yeah, I can see them as a filmmaker. I could see this could work. You know, if they've got more money, they can maybe do this. Yeah, there's definitely ways that is useful. I feel like if you're going to make a short after you made a feature, it has to look as good as a feature. You have to spend money on it, or you have to certainly get your crew that are willing to do that for nothing for you to make it look good. I think it's really tough. Like I say, I think Phil Hawkins is a perfect example of that. And I think Marco Perego is a good example of that. You know, you're going to make a film that wants to win awards. You want to be in that circuit to make a splash, for people to pay attention to you. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it, but I haven't thought about it for very long. I've gone, well, actually, I'd rather ask for those favors on a feature. That's just how I feel about it. But I'm not against anyone doing so. I think it's very useful. It's just not something I've wanted to do since I've made a few features.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you know, Joe or Jane A-lister came along, or I was like, okay, yeah, you've got an army aircraft carrier to shoot on. Go and make something, like, you know, if I get given some little, you know, tidbit or treat or concept that really would, you know, allow some creative freedom and something really exciting and ambitious, then yeah, I would certainly not poo-poo it. But I don't think it's something that I'm actively like, oh, I wish I could make a short.
Yes, I think if it's a proof of concept, it's different. If you're making a proof of concept for something, it's not specifically a short.
I hate that. I almost hate that more. I mean, I've always had a real beef with that, because I suppose because I like to sort of really immerse, and you know, the level of immersion that you do for like a feature film is, you know, sort of weeks and months with so many different conversations with so many departments and so much building across so many layers. And I always feel like those proof of concepts, like, it's just hard to get into the detail of that, you know, whether it's getting the actors that you would want, you know, for the feature, or getting the production values for the effects, or, you know, all of those things. I find it quite a frustrating experience, because it's never at the level which I would sort of, you know, conquer the feature film or try to.
I agree with you wholeheartedly until I did it.
Yeah.
So I was on your gravy train. Yeah, what's the point? We're never going to make it look high-end, glossy enough.
Well, yeah, it's different, though, because your one, I feel like that's almost in the camp of what we were talking about a minute ago, which is if you get given X, Y, and Z, and suddenly you've got like a big leap up, then you've got the chance to play, and you did yours at New Boyana Studios. And therefore you were kind of, I feel like you had like a big, you know, it was like an aircraft carrier. It was like you had some real cool toys to play with that could elevate it from just being like something small scale into something that's like, okay, yeah, like we can really mount this on a high level. So I feel like in a way you've kind of, you know, not gone against what I said at all, and you've kind of proved it in a way.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. Would I have done that if it was just like my first short film?
If it was like, you know, let's do it in the you know, yeah, like in the cut parking lot in Hackney or wherever.
Yeah, and I've just got my mate's car and we're driving around then, you know, and it's not actors.
Burning around the car park.
Yeah.
So that's a very different, like, you know, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you know, sometimes it ends up not having the money or the joy spent on it, and it can show.
Yeah, some benefits though, right, from going out and making a short, because I've always talked about this anyway. If you're going to go make a short, you don't necessarily have to win awards, right? You have to just make something and learn and get better. The more things you make, generally, you become better at the things because you learn from your mistakes. So, and you can experiment. You can have...
Unless you're really stupid.
Or you can, you know, it's a playground for us to go, do you know what? I want to try shooting on this camera. I want to try, you know, doing, working on a car shot, or I want to do an action stuff that I've not done before. I think that's really useful in a short film. You can refine your skills, which I think is really important too. It allows that freedom. Language, working with actors, if you're not necessarily good at that, you come from a technical side, you can go, right, this time I'm going to see what happens if I really try talking to the actors and see what I can get out of that. It's a good place to do it. I think it's really actually important. The most one is it maintains momentum. A lot of the time we say we're directors, I'm a director, but you might not have made something, your short was 2 years ago. Whereas if you go out and make another short, or your feature was 2 years ago, you're making something. You're in the mix of doing things, and that creates work, I feel. It creates freedom and makes you think, yes, I want to push harder with my next feature or TV series or whatever it is. So I think there is definitely that. Festival exposure is good as well. You might get to meet more people. You build the portfolio. Yeah, I think there's lots and lots of positives. I just, once you've made feature, there's only so much time in my day. So I'd rather put that time to going, hey, I want to go make another feature personally. But I totally see the benefit of someone making a short. I'm not against it at all. Very valuable experience for those out there. It's just our opinion. And what do we know? We're just two idiots.
Yep. 1.5 idiots.
I'm the 1.5. I hope you enjoyed our rambling, and please jump on our socials, Filmmakers Pod on Twitter, The Filmmakers Podcast, or is it Filmmakers Podcast on Instagram, and debate with us. We'll put up a post, a tweet about this, and come and let's have a talk. Absolutely very happy to discuss the merits and demerits of making a short film after you've made a feature. Let's do our film term of the week. Film term of the week.
Dom and Jones's film term of the week. Dom and Jones's film term of the week. Oh, Dom and Jones's film term of the week. Dom and Jones's film term of the week.
What nonsense have we got this week?
What is the Hays Code?
Hays Code. I feel like it's like either HR or health and safety. It's either one of those or it's like lighting safety, but I feel like it's probably one of the first two.
It's you're close. Normally you come up with a funny thing like, you've got to have a certain haze level at a code, like smoke machine. I thought you were going to go down that route first.
Behave. Haze.
It's a censorship restrictions. It was imposed in the 1920s. So it's not necessarily a film term. So I might do you another film term in a minute. It kind of is. It was named after Will Hays, who's the chairman of the MPPDA, which is the organisation in charge of regulating censorship in Hollywood. And it stated what could and couldn't be shown in films, such as nakedness, methods of crime, illegal drug use and sexual perversion, etc., as well as like taboo subjects at the time. And that is the Hays Code, censorship restrictions. So if you ever hear the Hays Code on set, that's what that means.
There we go.
There we go. That's your film term of the week.
Film term of the week. Oh, where's the other one? You said you were going to do another one.
Oh, you want me to do another one?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. What? All right. This is a normal film term, but everyone should know what this is. But I think sometimes people don't know what this is, and they pretend they do. So, what is a MacGuffin?
I know this one.
Good. Yay!
Finally.
A
MacGuffin it's like a fake plot line that you think is going to be the plot line, and then it sort of usually turns out to be nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the sled in Citizen Kane is a MacGuffin. It's a term coined by Alfred Hitchcock for a plot element or a device that drives the action or logic of the plot. It's extremely important at the time by the characters, but then it's ignored once it's served its purpose. So it's not a red herring.
What's the red herring, Giles?
A red herring is usually used in a crime thriller or Indiana Jones. It's something what we think it's going to be, and it turns out it's not. It's a dead end. It's not that at all. So it's similar, but a MacGuffin we use in script writing all the time. It's actually, we use it a lot. What's the MacGuffin? What's the thing we think it is? And actually, it wasn't. The rug is pulled. Scooby-Doo-esque. It's not actually that. It's something else. There you go. That's our second film term of the week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Dom, for being a great host, primo host on both today's episodes.
Yeah, thank you,
Very
Giles.
impressive stuff.
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. It's nice sort of conversing with royalty.
Next week, we're going to have a chat with September 5 movie. Dom sat down. Again, I've been busy. Dom has sat down with the director of September 5, Tim Feldbaum.
And actor Peter Sarsgaard. And actor Ben Chaplin. And actress Leonie Benish.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a pretty September the 5th. We actually did two rounds of this.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, did all the junket ones, and then they were like, "Do you want to come back and do some film stuff?" And I was like, "Oh well, why not? It's can't say no to Paramount, can you?"
No, you can't say no to Paramount. Thank you for listening. You've all been amazing. I imagine.
Yeah, you've been amazing
listening to this. Thank you. You've been amazing. We will see. Sounded like we actually meant that. We will see you next Tuesday. For September 5, Peter Sarsgaard. Oh, he's a legend, isn't he? Look forward to that. Until then, if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, this is your duty too.
Send the elevator back down.
Thank you, Dom.
Thank you, Giles. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.